Bread! Oh god, it's a very bad sign where you're very happy about bread, isn't it? Oh well. Bread! Alchemy workbench. Hooray! So I'm going to try and make some potions and yeah, hopefully make some bloody healing potions. Well, not really anything useful. No real health potions, only drained stamina mostly. Couple of paralyzed, which is very useful. This one is a really stupid one. Target is paralyzed for 3 seconds. Health is increased by 6 points for 60 seconds. Drain 2 mana points of mana per second. Heal 3 for 3 seconds. Hooray. And yeah. This one might be interesting as I then can make more stuff, but for the most part, well, pretty meh at best. So, let's get out of here and hopefully, well, yeah, convict Meldor Featherwall. That's gonna be a fun time, isn't it? So I guess... Oh, that is a strange tree, isn't it? We did have a quest to find a strange tree, didn't we? Oh, Dead Adventurer. Sorry, Mr. Dead Adventurer, you didn't have anything on you. Weren't we also looking for a strange tree for... have a look. At the beginning of the current, a big stone with a raised bleak tree in the west. Could this be it? Sorry about that, had to cough again. Ow, my chest. Alright, more Walking Dead, and the tree looks relatively normal from here. The dead don't sit up straight. At least they're not supposed to. Okay. These dead are sitting up straight. Why are you two sitting up straight? And why do you have wine and... What theme am I missing here? It's only I'm reminded of the Little Mermaid, for some reason. You tell me what the logic behind that is. Because I bloody well don't know. Oh good god, that is a very large crab. Please tell me you're dead. Yeah, you are. That is a very large crab. And yeah, you might say it's just a crab, well... Oh. Why do I need to convince him in the middle of the water? Oh. He's over there.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
So, did you find anything?
Yeah, rather a lot. Quite a lot, actually. For example, Apprentice found out about your affair Matilda, and that you hired a sellsword to kill him?
What? This is ridiculous. Who do you think you are?
Here you go, a nice letter. Let's cut the crap. You know, I know what you've done. I have evidence.
What? Oh, sod it. I never wanted anyone to get hurt. You have to believe me. The whole thing, it got out of hand.
Yeah. No, he didn't hire an assassin. We read the book. He said that he wanted him just to be intimidated. But explain yourself. You didn't want anyone to get hurt while you were bedding your brother's wife. I'd love to hear this explanation. It will be a goldmine.
Oh. Jugar, she never loved him. You know, the only reason they stayed companions was her path-abidingness, and that a divorce would have shamed him before the villagers.
And I guess bedding her was the best way to solve that problem, wasn't it?
She started it, not I. I mean, yes, I gave in to it, and yes, I love her, damn it. But, oh by Malthus, what did I get myself into?
A whole lot of trouble. And no one ever noticed, except for Pentas.
Yes, we always met on the beach at night, shortly before dawn. That fisherman, he must have gotten up earlier that day, and he saw us. I mean, he tried to act as if he didn't, but he did, I'm sure of it.
He did, but he never planned to tell anyone. His wife and him, they were afraid of you, Meldor. And you've shown why.
Yes, that's what I told Matilda too. But she was so afraid, you know, that her entire life would be shattered to pieces and that she would never be granted the eternal paths.
Question. The eternal path is the work of the gods, isn't it? So the gods approve of this, but it's just the people that don't? Why didn't you tell Jugar? Why didn't you tell Jugar? Because you petted his wife. Don't ask stupid questions. And because you didn't see another way, Matilda and you decided to get rid of the Panthers, right?
No, I mean, yes, I hired that sellsword, but he was only supposed to intimidate him, maybe make him move somewhere else, not kill him, for heck's sake. Please, my sir, you have to believe me. This sickness Matilda has, these voices, they are Malthus's punishment for what we both did to that poor man. She will never wake up again. I can feel it. And if you tell Jugar the truth about what happens now, you will accomplish nothing. Don't you see it? Nothing but break a man who has already been broken.
Oh. Oh, bollocks. See, letting him run is bad. You can't just let a man who does awful things and caused horrible things, even if that wasn't his intention, he still did it. You can't just let him go. This one, well, this is the one I need. I need bloody money, but... No, I'm sorry, dude. You have to account for what you've done. I hate facing that kind of stuff myself too, but you can't just run away and make the problems all disappear. For how much I hate it, that's just not how the world works. You'll have to account for what you've done, and maybe you come out of it okay.
What? No, you can't do that. Please, I'm horribly sorry, and I regret what I have done. What else do you want?
Because of you, people are dead. You've got to answer for that. Even if it wasn't your intention, you're still the cause for it. The sellsword should also be judged for it. Maybe harsher than you. You are the one who sent him off. You sent him after them. I'm sorry. You need to account for what you've done. You didn't want them dead, so you don't have to account for. To account for that. You still did horrible things. You have to answer for that. It's just how the world works, and just how the world needs to work. You can't do bad things and get away with it. It's just not how the world should work.
No, forgive me, but I cannot do that. I will...
You will try to murder me.
What the...
Oh...
No, help me,
Ooh! Okay, eyes in grief and gratitude. It's not what I wanted, you know. Go get the mercenary, not the man who sent him here to intimidate. That really was unnecessary. That really wasn't the outcome I was looking for. Oh. I wanted an... How? I don't know. I wanted a moment where he had to tell his brother tell the truth, but I didn't want him obliterated. I'm sorry, dude. I really am. You needed to answer for your crimes. The punishment should not have been this. I'm sorry. I truly am. Yarrow's diary. First letter. My name is Yarrow Sunwind, and this is my first letter, my first live letter. Last night, Sarah and I had a lengthy talk about our plans for the future. At one point, Sarah noticed that a lot of visionaries tend to become cynical. The reason being they lose sight of their goals. These documentations record my aspirations. In moments of weakness, I want to read these to remind myself of what's dear to me. Well, this is the first one. Oh great, and he threw that away. He threw away what's dear to him. Just yesterday, the keeper of the order from Ark visited the village, and if that weren't enough, he also detected some magic inside of me. Isn't that even possible? Me, an Arcanist? It's difficult to express my feelings with words. I feel like all my hard work is finally paying off. Interestingly, this arouses a particular, somewhat morbid thought. Maybe it is, in some sad way, even good that my mother passed away. Why? Because it opened my eyes. Now I don't feel anything other than a lack of understanding, and yes, even anger, towards the simpletons of the village, both the children and adults. Day after day it is always the same. They get up, work, and tell themselves be amused by the bards and let themselves be amused by the bards in the evening. Can't they see what's happening with the world? Everything they pass on should really just be a grief inscription on a stone. Sarah is different. She understands me. She shares my dream. If our master Igras accepts her and if Master Igros accepts her as an apprentice, we could continue to be as close in the novitiate as we are right now. Oh boy. Second letter. 15 years have passed and a lot of my wishes have come true. Sarah and I are now living together, but with the craftsmen instead of in the temple quarters. It has been 5 years since I completed the Holy trial. Despite what I had originally planned, I have decided against the military path and will be a school teacher instead. Why? Because I believe that I can reach a lot more people by sharing my vision with the young, rather than fighting in wars. Such thing might sometimes be necessary, but I stand for everything, thing that I stand against. Beyond that, the Successor has recently adopted the Food Bank Bill, which Sarah and I developed together. Twice a year, rich Eldrin are obligated to contribute a handful of pennies into a chest, which with the poorest in the Undercity are bought a warm meal. The reactions were mixed. Some agreed almost enthusiastically, while others were outraged. Often I would hear things like, "It's their own fault they live in misfortune," or if they would actually work, they wouldn't starve. Such people make me furious. What cursed ignorance is this? Of course it's easy for them to see the sky from the top of their ivory towers, but they will never understand the plight of the poor. I must say I like this man. And then you get reminded constantly that also he blew up an entire classroom, including himself. Despite how angry this letter might seem, I'm quite content overall. I'm starting to feel as if I have a purpose, that I'm moving in the right direction. And my happiness is due in no small part to the woman who has always stayed by my side throughout all these years. It's strange. I know you will probably never read these pages, but just as I might never see one of your letters, but still, I have the feeling as I'm writing these words that I'm talking to you in ink. With that in mind, I love you, Sarah. Third letter. Sarah is dead, killed by a group of scoundrels as she was delivering food for the food bank in the Undercity. How quickly these words have been written down, but how can I express this anguish, this emptiness even remotely? It sounds absurd. I'm talking to a piece of paper, because no one else wants to listen to me, nor would they even remotely understand what this means to me. Sarah always told me these letters would give me strength, but they don't. These lines appear unfamiliar to me. Everything feels wrong. I feel wrong as I get up in the morning. I feel wrong when the sun hides behind the cloudy sky at noon. And I feel wrong as I lie alone in this bed in the evening. Alpha judges suicide to be a sin, since every one of us has a purpose in life to fulfill. But could this really be my purpose? I might have 30 winters left at most, depending on whether or not an illness snatches me away, and behind me I can see nothing but filled dreams. Our damned food banks have led to downward war at the banquets of the Undercity, the rich trying to weasel their way out of making payments as much as they can, and in front of me I can see nothing but fog. What seems most fitting? So tell me, Malthus, is this really my path? Is this my purpose? To be a failure whose fate is to die alone? My thoughts are chaotic, and I'm tired. I don't want to keep writing. Yeah. If there's one thing that always makes people lose their faith, it's something truly bad happening. And this isn't faith in the way of religion per se. This can be faith in a lot of ways. This can be faith in the way of just how you think the world should work. As I think that people who do bad things should be judged. They have a railway? Okay. But then to see somebody who did something bad but then got judged way too hard because it was possible. That makes you wonder already, is it really the right way of thinking? And if it isn't, how wrong is your worldview? Oh, this house has seen better days, hasn't it? Rats. Yeah, pit rats. So yeah, I truly do empathize with Yarrow. Do I think he did the right thing? No, of course not, but that doesn't mean I don't understand him. The disciplines of magic. Entropy. Entropy. Along with psionics, entropy is one of the most infamous of magical disciplines, and is part of the school of Sinistra. It's comprised of the manipulation of life and death, the conjuration of supernatural creatures, and the use of necromancy. Mechanics. An anthropic mage brings about eventualities which alter beings' life forms. Thus he does not hesitate to revive deceased beings, imbuing them with artificial life, and so deliberately turning them into lost ones, undead, marionettes, obeying his will. Furthermore, entropists understand how to conjure magical anomalies, ethereal creatures such as wolves, bears or trolls, and elementals or weapons. However, the most abominable and dangerous form of entropy is necromancy. In this discipline, the conjurer is able to focus the energy of death and use it against his enemies. To understand this, the student of magic must be aware of the following. Death is an omnipresent power, inherent in every living being. It is present from the day of one's birth, although for the first 2 decades one's life force can withstand it. Afterwards, however, it drains one's vitality little by little until it is spent. An entroposition is capable of bringing death that exists in other realities into ours in a focused way. The result is a fierce and thunderstorm of lightning and fire, the sounds of which resemble the cries of the fallen ones. Indeed, necromancy exceeds all other schools in terms of sheer destructiveness, but at the same time, the practice draws upon the mage's life force as well. It is not uncommon for entropists themselves to die for the excessive use of their magic. Reputation. The use of entropy is forbidden to path-abiding arcanists and is punishable as a capital offense. The bone readers of the Skyrim, and rumor has it some mercenaries from Nele are known for practicing it. While the motivation of the latter remains unknown, the Skarg consider entropy to be holy, which is no wonder considering their general barbarism and pathlessness. Nevertheless, for reasons unknown, the bone readers seem to be more successful in bearing the physical consequences and of its use. Key elements of the Skyrim entropy includes bones and body parts of the deceased, as well as diverse narcotics by which the bone readers believe they are able to establish contact with the dead. It is assumed they believe the bones function as some sort of focusing point. Of course, if these barbarians had any proper knowledge about magic, such adaptations would be absolutely unnecessary. And yeah, that's also the school of magic that I am rather interested in. Because it's a school of magic that can do quite a lot of interesting things. It's the most powerful. And with the lack of superstition. Ooh, stop feeding. With a lack of superstitious nonsense, something like that can become just the most powerful type of magic becomes quite interesting. Oh, skeleton. Whose skeleton is this then? The Skinner and Wild Magic. She knew that her time had come. Struggling to hold back her tears, she took a deep breath and knocked at the steel door. The moment thereafter, a man with a distinctive nose and thick pitch black hair opened. Without having exchanged any words, the woman decided that she liked him. His upright posture conveyed a sense of safety, while his black eyes promised wisdom and compassion. The keeper did not ask any questions. They were pointless. Countless women, and men as well, had already come before this door to confess, and this would be no exception. "Come in, my lady," he invited her, and pointed to a massive desk with his gloved right hand. With lowered head, she followed his request and entered. The room of confession, as the folk saying went, was sparsely furnished. 3 large windows allowed for the clear moonlight to illuminate the outer end of the room behind the desk, where she would now seat herself to confess. A bitter taste took hold of her tongue. She never would have dared to imagine it would come to this. "What is your name?" The keeper began the conversation when both of them were sitting. He with his back to the window, she with her back to the door. "Smith." The woman did not look up. "Nartha Smith." The keeper nodded, grabbed a piece of parchment, a quill, and wrote the name. "And this is about?" Matilda hesitated for a moment. "It's too late. There's no going back now." "My companion, Neron Smith." She burst into tears as her words faded away. At the same time, the sentences were oozing out like a slow and bitter mass. At first I thought it to be a chance, but the evenings on which he came far too late or not at all became more and more frequent, and I followed him. The keeper looked at her sadly and began to take notes again. "Which path did your husband follow?" "Skinner, her arms moved dismissively. "His family has been walking the furious path for countless generations, but what does that have to do with my testimony?" "Mere formalities, my lady," he said and nodded the path on his parchment. "So you followed your husband. Where did he go?" he asked, even though he had a vague idea. "To the completely hysterical woman barked. "To the Undercity. I've never seen him there. In that ghetto. This place of whores and beggars, this... She burst out, together with more tears. "Please calm down, and tell me exactly what happened there," the keeper said quietly, but determined. At the same time, the woman's testimony confirmed his suspicion. The Undercity. Torn in the heart of the order. The cancer in the ruins under the upper city, growing even larger, always lusting for more victims. Robbers, prostitutes, rascals, drug addicts, cutthroats, and more. In short, all kind of pathless scum were roving about out in this dark and twilight alleys, escaping their just punishment. For there were regular patrols and controls. Until now the Order had not been able to lead all those stray lambs on the right path again. The thought hurt. After the woman had found her composure again, she continued to speak slowly. He beat at the door of an old, downtrodden hut right in the heart of the district. At first nothing happened, but then a cloaked figure lurked out of a window right above the door. And Nellon appeared to exchange weird passwords with a voice from behind the door, and it was opened. My husband entered the hut. I waited for a brief moment and approached the hut's windows. You've been extraordinarily brave, my lady, the keeper said, nodding approvingly. He knew all too well how hard it could be to enter the cave of Valtia in such situations. When I finally saw Neron again, he wore the same brown garb as the devilish gatekeeper. They formed a circle, surrounded by candles and billows of smoke throwing off a heat, rotting smell. And then, the young woman stammered, then they brought an unclothed girl in the room, gagged and bound at her feet and legs. She floundered and struggled, but a pockmarked brawny man knocked her down until all she did was trembling. By then tears were flowing out of her eyes in streams, heavily falling on the room's stony ground. And your companion stood back, the keeper, touched by the woman's pain, asked. He had heard to understand that she had experienced and had happened with her husband. I don't understand it. How could he possibly do that? It just doesn't make any sense. Throughout his life, it has been path abiding. Her voice trailed off in the midst of the sentence, and she only stared at the desk with unseeing eyes, as if her silence would undo what happened. The keeper removed leather gloves and put his rough, scarf-skinned hand on the woman's. Often the path of Mathis intends for us puts us before tempting junctions, and we do not always recognize them as such. The magic flowing in your companion's veins, and recently reaching his consciousness, is among the most horrible temptations. The young woman was still sobbing, but slowly life returned to her honest eyes. The bearded warrior's touch calmed her. And your companion's deeds are understandable. In the right hands, magic, formed, controlled, and carefully supervised, is among the greatest gift Mathis has the gifts of Mathis to us. He leaned over to the broken woman. Without direction, however, it can corrode us from the inside out, leading us to pathlessness. He reflected on the truth of his words. Magic truly was a gift, only granted to a few chosen one, most notably the Etherna. Far too many of Enderal's path-abiding people discovered the talent for magic in their youth, but failed to report it in the order like Mathis demanded. To decide if and how their talent should be used, the young woman's fate was saddening. She suspected that her companion had recently discovered his magical abilities, and then himself is scared by one of the Undercity's ruthless soul fishers. They were irrational fears and lies, unwrought with splinters of truth concerning the Order's admission exam, required for all elders with magical abilities. And how many magical talent novices did not survive it. Anyhow, this was the only possible way. Yeah, no shit. People don't come to you when there's a good chance they will die. Wild mages. The name given to humans unable to control their body's magical energies, might be able to achieve impressive powers, but such powers were akin to those of a rabid wolf, recklessly devouring his enemies, but in time inevitably directing his wrath at his master. The magic practicer in the orders more resembled the powers of a faithful warhorse, having its own will, but nonetheless functioning in harmony with its rider. A trembling voice pulled him out of his thoughts. "You wouldn't kill him, right?" she whispered. She removed his hand from hers and based on his chin on the back of his hands and based his chin on the back of his hands. First slowly, then determined, he shook his head. No. Each Eldrin deserves an opportunity to return to the right path. Relief blinked in his sad eyes. Of course he knew of the disastrous consequences caused by a magical poisoned mind. Whether there would be a way back for her husband was uncertain at best, but he did not wish to take this glimmer of hope from her. "Malthus, help us," he thought, and continued the interrogation. "But we will obviously have to intervene. If the circle you are speaking of truly abducts innocents, even if they come from the Undercity, we have to get down to the root of this evil. Should we expect him in your home, it will not take long for the other pathless ones to take note and remove each and every trace of their ritual. I therefore suggest to wait no longer. He will lead us to the scene of the crime as soon as possible." It appeared like the young woman had regained part of her consciousness, of her composure. She nodded and looked directly at the man. "What is your name?" she asked. Surprisingly, he raised his eyebrows. Simus Dalceron. Does that name seem familiar to anyone? Simus might just be similar to someone's name. I really suck at names, so yeah, sorry about that. For the first time this night, she spoke with a calm voice, contradicting the desperation of her words. "Please, protect him, Simus. I am begging you." I promise to do my utmost, the keeper said, loud and clear. The preparations were made quickly. Simus told Tara Delfarin, the head of the order, of its circumstances. Through intervening in ordinary crimes, or pathlessness belonged to the order's routine task, the elderly warrioress granted Simus a detachment of experienced older warriors to advance into the Undercity together with him and the young Mithra, potentially discovering a whole group of criminal wild mages was too important to take chances. Upon arriving in the Undercity, the group did not lose time and was led directly to the suspicious hut by Mithra. Even though she pretended to be dutiful and confident, Simus knew how torn she had to be on the inside. Shortly before reaching the hut, Simus, the order's warriors, and Mithra, I think it's them, rested in a dark alley in order to plan the next step. "Have you noticed entrances apart from the front door when you were there? Simus asked Mithra. "Not that I remember," she answered and added, more thoughtful and quiet, "but after I had to see the gruesome deed, I ran back to the upper city without looking back. It's entirely possible that I oversaw something." "You do not need to blame yourself for that. No one expects you to remain level-headed upon witnessing such horror." Simus tried to encourage her and addressed his men. "So this is our plan. 3 of you surround the hut until you are at its backside. Make sure to find possible escape routes. 2 stay here with the lady, and the remaining men follow me into that lair." "Can't I come with?" Mathilda began, though soon fell into silence. Though this operation was about Neron, she knew that the dangers and her death would not benefit anyone. It would be hard even without the added diversion. You are a clever and honest woman, Mithra. I can understand your faults well, but for your sake I request you to wait here, Simas said with an understanding but strict look in his face. She stared at him for some time. Then one was able to hear an "Alright, I will wait" from her, but don't you forget your promise to me. Simas nodded and returned to face his men. After your position and plan clear? Good, then we begin. He and his men spread out, and when the three charged with protecting the backside arrived, he gave the signal. He kicked the door in and swarmed into the hut with his men. At once fearful, but also furious scream left the hut. How did they find us? No matter, we are better men and mages than those sons of Vati. The noise of battle grew louder, and Mithra could no longer understand words. Since Simas had left with his warriors, she had not once lifted her eyes from the door, praying. She prayed to Malthus for her husband's rescue and safety. Then all there was silence. The oldest warriors appeared outside, together with Simas. Two of them carried a lifeless body. She saw the body. Mithra froze for a second before she ran towards the two men with fury. Therefore she reached them. Simas stopped her. Is this your husband? Then he had incredible luck to stand next to the door. That way I was able to knock him out before the others in the hut realized what was happening. The other wild mages were not as lucky. Apart from 2 wounded, they are all dead. One of my own too lost his life. May Malthus accompany him on his last path. At once all anger left her, and she felt joy. Does that mean that Melron will be able to live a normal life? Right now nothing is certain. First we will need to determine whether he will be able to restrict the wild magic within himself and become a warrior of the Order. Furthermore, he'll have to answer for the murder of the young girl, Simas warned her. But if he went all the admission rituals and vows to stay faithful to his path in the future, he may be pardoned still. Seeing how his spirit was clouded by magic, he said with a hint of a smile. Mithra beamed. I thank you with all my heart, but even more do I thank Malthus, who had mercy on my Marin, granting him the opportunity of a fresh start, even though he completely turned his back on the path. Malthus is like a merciful shepherd. Though they may at times leave the right path, he does not abandon them, as long as they once again reassure him of their loyalty and lead a good further life. Simas explained as they left in the dark tunnels connecting the city and the upper city to step the warm light of the rising sun. That was a relatively nice story, wasn't it? Oh, jewelry box. Loot.